Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about 5 steps to improving your paid social ads strategy. First of all, a bit of an introduction of myself. My name is Alberto. I am a senior biddable account manager here at Croud, and I have been working at Croud for 4.5 years, basically specializing myself in paid social. A bit of a presentation, a bit of an introduction about Croud. The company was founded 10 years ago, and we have grown quite a bit. We have 4 offices now, one in Sydney, one in London, one in Shrewsbury, and one in New York. In terms of what do, we basically do SEO, PPC, and paid social and programmatic. And we all do these things at a quite high level, so we are recognized good rank by the main providers. And the way that we do that is by having a different agency model in which we basically we have the experts at the experts in agency that we basically focus on the strategy of the accounts. And then for the day-to-day things, we have a network of experts that we can enter into. So for today, 5 steps to improve your paid social strategy. First of all, know the landscape. So there is a lot of players out there at the moment. But not all the players have the same amount of people. So we need to probably understand a bit more about the platforms in order to understand where do you need to go to reach your audience. So here's a list of the different platforms by monthly active users. As you can see here, from the 5 first platforms, from the 6 first platforms, 5 of them are part of the Facebook network. So we are going to start with that one. Just very briefly, Facebook is actually Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and they advertise also in a network of apps. What that means is that they are the leader in terms of monthly active users, and also the leader in terms of impressions available. If you want to advertise in paid social, this is the main place to reach absolutely everyone. They are also quite advanced in terms of the data that they have, so in terms of the targeting that you can do, and they are very advanced in terms of the algorithm behind that data. And then, as they are the market leaders, they are very good at copycat any other new thing that comes to the market. So, by example, when Snapchat started with the stories, it took a year and a half for Facebook to integrate that into Instagram. And now that we have TikTok breaking the market again, we have Facebook adding Reels also in Instagram. So just to compare, if we look at LinkedIn, that is another very big platform out there, what we can see is that LinkedIn has much less, a totally different usage in terms of how often the people enters. So that means also a totally different number of impressions that are available there. That combined with the fact that they have very good first-party data in which you can target based on company size, you can target based on job title, with very accurate information, it means that the competition is very high. So that means that the prices are slightly higher. However, it's an audience that you cannot find anywhere else. Just to keep comparing with other platforms, if we think on Snapchat and TikTok, these 2 platforms, I have agrupated them together because just for one reason, that is they are the innovators out there, the ones that are bringing something new to the audience, and therefore they have some characteristics that are common. They are all entering into younger audiences. These audiences might not be on Facebook or might not be so active in the rest of the platforms. And basically, it also means that not so many people is advertising on them. So there might be a great opportunity to reach an audience at a very cheaper price if you are thinking in in younger audiences. In a nutshell, every platform is different. So if we think in another one, Reddit, by example, very niche audiences, you can potentially try to enter there to target gaming or to target sports with topics, web subreddits that are very focused on these niche markets. In Twitter, you are basically able to target by keyword, so you can enter into a conversation. And in Pinterest, you can do kind of the same, but in the search of Pinterest. So Pinterest is a network that is used for inspiration, and you can actually target the keyword that the people is looking when they are looking at inspiration. So each platform is different. Each platform is used different by the users, and it has different targeting capabilities. It's important to take that into account whenever you are planning your not only your paid social strategy, also your organic one, because that's going to determine in which position of the funnel you want to use each one of the platforms, and which one you want to spend more money on or more effort in. Second step, understand your customer journey. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with this kind of customer funnel, in which we have an awareness stage, then a consideration stage, then the conversion happens, and then the retention, then there is a retention stage. However, what I wanted to do here today is try to associate this with behaviors that are happening. Each customer journey is different. Each company will have to consider its own one, but this one, as an example, could be the customer journey of an online retail store. So we have in the awareness phase, the first contact, then you have in the consideration phase, research and the decision making, then you have the purchase, and finally you have the re-engagement with that brand. Just by thinking on this behavior, we need to think in what is the expected behavior of the user in each one of these stages. There are 3 stages in which we are expecting the user to do an action by themselves, independently of any advertising that you put. So in the research stage, the user is going to probably go to search and is going to go and compare with other products, with other providers. In the purchase stage, you have the same thing. The person is going to go straight to the shop or straight to wherever they think they want to get the product. And the same is going to happen when they re-engage. So in the 3 actions that the user is going to take, those are actions that start from the user side. So when we are doing advertisement on paid social and when we are doing advertisement on display, we are not really entering in these 3 stages. We are entering in these 3 stages when we are doing advertising on search. When we are doing advertisement on paid social or display, we are entering in the rest of the part. So by putting advertisement in the awareness part of the funnel, you are basically incrementing the number of people that first contact with the company. By putting advertisement in the consideration phase, you are basically influencing the decision maker, and you are entering also in the research. And when we are putting advertisement down in the after the purchase, then you are reminded that user that they have already purchased from you, so you are a confident seller, and they can purchase from you again. But even if we are putting advertising, the reality of it is that the user is going to still follow the same patterns. So most of the users are going to still be searching for the product just before they purchase it, even if you put advertisement in any other part of the funnel. So the reason why this is important, and remember that this is different for every client. This is different for every vertical. The reason why this is important is because you are going to be creating a set of targets and a set of KPIs for the activity that are going to help you to measure if this activity is valid or is valuable or not. If you try to measure all the activity at the different stages by the same KPI, you are probably going to not see success at any point. Not because the campaign is not working, it's just because it's not the expected behavior. So if in this specific example that we have in the screen, you want to measure the Pinterest activity based on a last click Google Analytics measure conversion, then you probably are not going to see any results from Pinterest, because still the Pinterest person will not convert at that point, will convert much later, and probably through search. So this is just a bit of a slide to explain the different objectives that you can have with the activity, the different places on the funnels that they are, and different KPIs that are associated with them. Just a bit of feed for thought whenever you are planning a strategy. Let's plan for a social, potentially a small audience. So social media targeting is very wide. You can target absolutely everything you want. You target via demographics, via behaviors, via interest, via location, via connections. And the reality is that because you have so much options available when you are doing social media, but also when you are doing display, the tendency is to try to get to very niche audiences that overlay all these different characteristics and go towards a very small target audience that is what you have seen work in the past, and it's just that. However, these have some kind of there's some problematic associated with this. That is that you might finish with a very small audience in which the frequency is going to be high. There's going to be a creative fatigue much faster, basically because the platform is just going to be going once and again through the same small audience. And there might be some missed opportunities in terms of, well, when you are doing an advertisement campaign, you probably don't want to go only towards the people that they convert. You probably want to also change the base of your customers and change the try to generate some kind of education pins between audiences that were not your customers, but they might become your customers. So how can we try to sort this out? Well, there is three main things. The first one is broaden your target as much as possible. The platforms themselves, each one of them, they use algorithms to optimize inside your audience. So even if you have a broader audience, as long as you set up the campaign correctly, you should basically target all those ones of the narrow audience first, and then the platform itself will try to expand in whichever direction they see there's more opportunity. If the audience is small because it's a retargeting audience, make sure you use a timed audience strategy in which you basically don't control the frequency of the ad. What you control is the number of days that ad is going to show. So potentially what you can do here is create full customer journeys with different messages depending on the day that they had seen or that they had done the last action. So after someone has visited the website, you can put 2 days of ads about main selling points of the website. Or after someone has bought a product, 1 month later, you can retarget them with one ad, reminding them that you were there, that you sold them that product, and that you actually have so much stock that can be useful for them. And then the third part is to make sure you have a content calendar. And the reason, the main way of doing this is by synchronizing your organic effort with your advertising effort. The reason for that is because usually everyone has some kind of organic calendar in mind. You usually post quite more often than what you serve ads. This post can, however, be a great asset to generate awareness. They might be used as creatives for that top of the funnel activity in which the audiences are not time-based, and in which actually it's very interesting for you to be showing not only an ad, but also what is the personality of the brand. So, no questions on audiences, I see. Let's go to building creatives. So when building creatives, we just need to remember where they are going to be shown. Creative is the most important lever in terms of the performance of the campaign, and it's usually, well, it's probably the most ignored part of it, because it's the most difficult to measure. However, there are certain best practices that can be implemented, and they are mainly all related with the fact that social platforms are mobile. So they are going to be checked on mobile phones. So based on that, the first thing is that consider that your ads are going to be in a vertical screen. So that means that if you go towards vertical formats, you are going to be using more real estate inside the ad. Indeed, nowadays, in most of the platforms that have feeds like Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, while in the past the industry standard used to be a square image, a rectangular image, landscape image. Nowadays, the recommendation is always go towards a square or more vertical than that. And the reason for that is just because for the same spend, you are just occupying much more of the mobile screen. Second thing, people scroll much faster on mobile than what they do on website, on desktop. So take that into account and try to grab the attention in the first seconds. If you are creating a video, make sure you put the brand in the first at the start of the video. Make sure that it's very fast paced and that the action starts very early, because you have very little time to engage with that audience before they scroll down. The audiences the platforms are mobile, and that means that most of the times they are going to be seen, your ads are going to be seen without the audio on. So when you are designing an ad for Facebook or for Instagram, you need to think on the ad as only visual. And then you can add audio after. So if you are making a video, make sure that you have captions, make sure you can follow the video without needing the audio behind. The audio can be still there. It can be supportive of what the image is saying, but it cannot be the main message. Well, this is basically what we could have said until, I'm going to say, 6 months ago. But the reality is that social platforms are continuously changing. So all these recommendations about video, yep, they are great for most of the platforms. However, they are not great for TikTok. Because as you know, TikTok is mainly a musical app. So everyone is going to be watching TikTok with the audio on. And therefore, putting audio in your, or creating an ad around audio in your TikTok makes sense. At the same time, we used to say you cannot use a TV ad on a social campaign, because TV ads are designed in a way in which you create an intrigue and then you develop. So they are designed to be watched completely, and that means that in a feed you cannot really see them work. However, with the rise in stream ads that we are seeing in Facebook, that changed as well, because basically the design of an in-stream ad is basically the same as what you would think as for a TV ad, in the sense of the user is going to be with the audio on, the user is going to be already watching something that he is interested in, and he's going to watch the ad from the start to the end. So everything that was valid for TV is also valid here. And then, just 1 second. The last point, leverage the platform's technology. So Each one of the platforms, as we were saying, use algorithms to optimize your accounts and to optimize the targeting that you are doing. That's indeed the main strength of the biggest player, of Facebook. So you need to make sure you are sharing the right data with the platform in order to ensure that that performance later. So make sure when you implement the pixel, make sure you not only implement the base pixel, you implement all the conversion and events as unrecommended events that are given by the platform. By doing that, what you are going to be doing is you are going to be feeding the platform back, not only with the information of the user, but also with the information of in which part of the funnel that user is. And they are going to be using this for delivering impressions later on. If you are implementing a pixel from zero, consider if your product might be your store might have potential with the dynamic product ads, and if that's the case, you can implement those since the start as well. So dynamic product ads we are going to enter later, but are basically retargeting strategies in which you are serving a piece of content based on the specific page that the user has seen. So from the point of view of the pixel needs to be sending back that information about what a specific product that person has visited. If your final objective is not available online, by example, in a B2B, it's quite often that online you only arrive to the lead point of it, but the purchase is, or the final deal is much later on. Consider implementing offline conversions. So by implementing offline conversions, what you are doing is you upload a set of data to the platform, and the platform compares it with the people that they have advertised in the past window for conversion tracking. And basically, what that means is that you will be able to see which of those users, not which of those users, but how many of those users have indeed been influenced or have clicked before in one of the advertisements. And that way you can optimize the campaign. But that way, if you upload the data into the platform, Facebook itself will be making that optimization. Now, once you have all that data inside the platform, make sure you use machine learning to drive success to your campaign. So there is machine learning in each part of the stages. There is machine learning in the setup of the objective of the campaign. Depending on the objective that you set up, the platform is going to see the behavior of the users with another ads, the audience that is already clicking or not clicking, or converting or not converting, and it's going to basically try to show the ad to similar people. Try to show the ad first to similar people to the ones that are into your objective conversion. Secondly, lookalike audiences and lifetime value lookalike audiences, they basically are a way for you to automate all process of research an audience, find your segment, then find that segment inside the platform and target that platform. And that can be automated nowadays. You just get your list of people. You can add a value to each one of those users by giving lifetime value. And then by giving that information to the platform, you can create a similar audience to that that will basically allow you to do that analysis and that finding of audiences, but totally automated and with much more information than what a human could process, to be fair. And then you can also use machine learning in creative. Most of the platforms have also some features about dynamic creative, in which we basically give the platform different versions of the headline, different versions of the image, or different versions of the ad itself. Basically, the platform will be testing each one of the variances, and it will be delivering to each user the variance that they consider it will work better for that Another interesting thing that you can do using the technology of the platforms. Dynamic product ads is something to mention because it's basically tailoring your message to any remarketing audience. So as I was saying before, it's all about using the information that we know about the user, knowing that that user has visited one product. If we saw an ad with that specific product, then the engagement will be higher, and basically the message just becomes much more relevant and much more personalized. When we think about dynamic product ads, we usually think only on products. However, they are feed-based, and almost everything can be created in dynamic product ads. You can do it for travel, you can do it for destinations, you can do it for automotive, you can do it for you could potentially do it for services, for B2B, etc., etc. And a very interesting thing about dynamic product ads as well, something that is new, is to use them for broaden awareness audiences. So basically, because the platform knows so much about everyone, you can potentially target dynamic product ads, create a dynamic product ads and target people that hasn't visited your website, but the platform understands which product they have visited in other places, and they show them the relevant products to them. If you are more in the B2B side, it's interesting for you to know about lead gen forms. So lead gen forms are basically collected. They are lead gen that are collected inside the platform itself. The main providers for B2B provide them, like something that is available on Facebook, is available in Twitter, it's available on LinkedIn. And basically the way that it works is that the person, whenever they click on create on submit a lead, the form will open into their screens, into their mobile screens, and it will be already pre-filled with all the information that the platform has. So it makes the lead form much easier to complete. Then we were talking before about how the platform is going to be using algorithms and try to optimize continuously. That's something that it's all depending on how much amount of data that a specific ad set has. So it's always a good idea to try to merge as much as possible everything. Try to merge the creatives, try to merge the audiences, try to merge the campaigns if the objective is exactly the same, or if the message is exactly the same. There are some tools out there like multi-language creatives that allow us to merge even different languages. So in Facebook nowadays, you can potentially create an ad and put up to, I think it's up to 50 different languages on it. And basically what it means that depending on the language that the users speak, they will see a different ad, even if it's the same ad in the platform. And what that means is that you have all the engagement inside the same ad, you have all the clicks to the same ad, etc., etc. That means basically that you aggregate all that data together and the algorithm goes better. There's another tools there that are interesting. Split testing is basically A/B testing within the platform. This is usually thought as a great tool to A/B test creatives. So you get one creative, half of the people you show them one creative, the other half you show them the other creative. And it's true that can be useful if what we are testing is maybe the call to action in the creative. But it needs to be very specific, because if not, what we find out on social platforms is that the life of the creative is so short that by the time that you have learned something, you probably need to change the creatives anyway. So it needs to be about very specific features in the creative. However, this is a great way to test other things. So it's a great way to test campaign objectives, a great way to test bidding strategies, a great way to test audiences. And that's where I will recommend to be used continuously. And then the last thing, the last important thing in terms of technology within the platforms. This kind of testing called incrementality testing, in which you basically have your audience and take a control group inside that audience and don't show any ads to that control group. At the end of the process, you measure the number of conversions that you have between the people that don't have seen the ad and between the people that have seen the ad. And by measuring that, you basically get the incremental conversions for that specific campaign. Incrementality of the activity is not something that we usually measure. However, it's very interesting especially for certain channels to see how they are working. Like in the example that we were saying before about how we put KPIs and objectives, and how if you are in a brand awareness campaign, you shouldn't probably optimize towards conversions. It's true that even if that is the case, incrementality testing there can help you to understand what is the real value of the activity. If that people that having completed the first step that you are measuring is also completing the second, the third, or the fourth in your customer journey. So, in short, the main takeaways for today. Each platform is different, so you need to take into account what are the targeting capabilities of each platform whenever you are planning for them. Whenever you are choosing the objectives and the targets for the activity, take into account what is the behavior expected by the user. When planning audiences, try to plan them as wide as possible and try to have some kind of creative calendar behind to support each one of the audience. So have a plan of creative at the same time that you are planning your audience. Whenever you are creating ads, keep them fast-paced, keep them engaged and designed for a mobile screen. And finally, make sure your strategy is using machine learning, is using automation, and is using the testing tools that you have available in the platform, because that's the way of basically making the most of it. And that's basically what we have for today. I'm going to give you 3-4 minutes for questions, if there are any. Just a couple of things to mention. Here is my contact details. We will send this deck at the end of the session. There is also some, if you are interested on specific platforms, there are some webinars already available about YouTube and TikTok in our Croud Academy live. So really recommend to go to that. And that's basically it for today. Just checking if there is anything. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.